Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reich of Crime Talk. Thanks for tuning in today. It's a Saturday morning, depending on where you are. It's a little later. Right now, it's a little after 9. I apologize for being a few minutes late, as, well, sometimes that happens on a Saturday morning. So first of all, thank you all for tuning in. We captioned this or titled this today as Ask Scott. So basically, I guess it could be like an open lines Saturday. We can talk about basically whatever you all would like. I've seen in some of the comments right before we went on, a lot of people were talking about the Patrick Frazee matter, and obviously his the fact that he's been found guilty. Crystal Lee Kenny, the nurse, the accomplice, the government witness, obviously goes for sentencing right after the first of the year, and so she's going to find out, her fate. I don't think she's going to get probation. I don't think her attorney thinks she's going to get probation. Just a question of how much time. She got a great deal, but as a lot of people have noticed, that case probably would not have gone forward but for the fact that Crystal Lee Kenny was able to testify as to what she saw, observed, and what Frazee told her. It's unclear, exactly what really the motive was for Patrick Frazee to kill Kelsey Barrett. I mean, it just really makes no sense. I mean, it's a young child. You go to court, you get divorce papers, and everybody knows where they stand. I just don't get everybody, whether they're having an affair or whether they're having a separation or, whatever. You just don't have to go around and kill everybody. It just makes no sense to me what these people are thinking at the time. And, if Frazee had probably done it himself and not involved Crystal Lee Kenny, he may have gotten away with it. That's even probably the scarier thing. But, what they say, what is it? 3 people can keep a secret as long as 2 of them are dead. And then Patrick Frazee, obviously, the statements by the jailhouse informant who said that he wanted to have, various members of Crystal Lee Kenny's family killed and things of that nature. I mean, that just shows consciousness of guilt. And I think if I was a juror, that would have clearly been something that I would have heavily considered. Why do you want to go around killing other people or potential witnesses unless you really think that they're going to actually hurt your case? And the mere fact that, he's serving a life sentence plus, 60 or something, 80 years, I think. He's not, they probably would have gone with some sort of witness tampering charge or something along those lines as well to really rack him up. But he's done. And from what I can tell, not a whole lot of appellate issues in that case either. So Patrick Frazee is another one that's going off to prison for the rest of his life. And we'll see if he gets the special treatment as some other people and whether he stays here in the state of Colorado or if he's going to be sent off to some other prison for his own safety because he's so high profile. I don't think that's the case. I think he's going to get stuck here in the state of Colorado. But that's where the crime was committed. He should probably serve his time here. Let's see here. Colorado does seem to attract crime. It does seem like it a lot. I've always said that, if people really knew how much crime went on out there in the world, they would probably arm themselves, lock the door, and never come out. And, you can look this stuff up. If you go to just Google your neighborhood and type in police blotter, there's lots of resources out there and some independent organizations that will plot all the crime. And if you look in your area, in your neighborhood, People, I mean, it's shocking. And when I say crime, it's not like everyone's being killed and bad assaults or anything like that, but the crime in the sense of people, walking into people's garages and stealing something, having their cars broken into. It is scary. So I'm gonna be sued or anything like that. Oh, here's a good question. Tina, please ask Scott to advise us at what we can and what we shouldn't write in our YouTube comments, and we can be sued for anything we write. Well, obviously, if it's the truth, is always a defense to any sort of defamation type of case. But it has to be the truth, not what you believe to be the truth. You can have your opinion, but you cannot go around just spreading false information, false rumors about particularly individuals. You can have your theory on a particular case, but when you start bad-mouthing or saying things that you know are false and you have no evidence to back it up, or just absolutely pure speculation on your part, saying, well, I think what really happened was the little green men came in and did this, and this person knew about it. Well, that kind of thing is just ridiculous, but it is also, we try to deal, in Crime Talk, we try to deal with facts, okay? There's lots of things, and I see this, and I get frustrated by it. And as a criminal defense attorney, when the client comes in and says, okay, here's what happened, or how do we develop this theory, you have to have a good faith basis to back it up. You can't just say, Joe Schmo committed this murder. It wasn't my guy. He was standing on the street corner. He must have done it. Okay, just because somebody's there doesn't mean they had anything to do with a particular crime. In fact, there's a jury instruction that says mere presence at the scene of a crime does not necessarily mean you had anything to do with it. So you have to be careful when you're writing comments out there, ladies and gentlemen. And the other thing is, keep it respectful. I can tell you, when people put comments, there's certain words that get filtered, and those go directly to a a censored file or something like that. And we can go through and approve it. And if some people can't be polite and respectful, we appreciate everybody watching, but we don't need people, basically bad-mouthing others. We can agree to disagree on lots of things, but you should be able to do it respectfully. And, that's really what it boils down to. What does it hurt to be nice? We've talked about cases, and I've been accused of horrible things by some people. In fact, I had a lady, I was looking through the comments, I think it was late last night or early this morning. She kept going on that I represented Nicole Kessinger. I don't represent Nicole Kessinger. I would love to speak with Nicole Kessinger, but I don't represent her. And then she goes off on this diatribe of what a terrible, horrible person I am, and how could I possibly, do what I do as a defense attorney. And I normally don't even respond to those types of things, but I basically told her, you're welcome, okay? I don't defend my clients and what they've done. I don't necessarily condone it. I'm protecting their rights under the Constitution, because if we allow the government to railroad guilty people, guess what? The people in power, the government, the police, the FBI, whomever, will start to think that they can do it to anyone, okay? To innocent people. And so every time you go in there and you say, you know what? Yeah, this guy's guilty. It was on video. What are we why are we going through this process? Because it's called due process. It's called due process under the United States Constitution. Everybody's entitled for that. You don't get to just say, oh, we think he's guilty, bring it on. Due process is what separates America from most countries. If in a dictatorship they say, well, we think you're guilty and we're just going to charge you. That's it, okay? That's not the way we do things here in America. That's what separates us, from hopefully being the good guys versus the bad guys. So it's it just frustrates me. I used to get that question. I was like, how can you represent guilty people? I tell you, the guilty ones are easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's the ones that are actually innocent that are looking at spending the rest of their life in prison that didn't do it or didn't do it exactly the way the government charged it. Those are the ones that keep you up at night, okay? And it happens. And I've represented people, literally children of billionaires to people from Central America with a second-grade education, okay? And when you go into that courtroom, if you're a defendant, it says, the United States government or the people of the state of whatever state you fill in there. That means all the resources that the resources available to the United States government and the state that you're in against you, that little person, okay? And there's only one thing standing between everything, to basically a sham going on, and that's a criminal defense attorney defending the Constitution. So sorry for that little rant. It just irritates me. You would think in today's world where, yes, people do bad things. Nobody wants people to have bad things done to anybody, but it's a shame, but it's a reality. And to think that even to this day that people think other people shouldn't have a right to present a defense or to even have an attorney, okay? That's the part that just absolutely flabbergasts me. Let's see here. Let's see. Ivy Lou. I watch all the time, rarely comment. Does Scott think Watts acted alone? No evidence generated, but personally. And two, why does think that the case has the discussion populace it does as compared to other cases? Well, Ivy, I believe that the Chris Watts case brings about such a discussion for a couple of things. One, obviously, the horrendous nature of the crime. Now, have other people committed more heinous crimes? And I mean that by saying, have they killed more people? Yes. But here we're talking about the Chris Watts case, and why I think it still is so interesting to so many people, and that's simply because of the fact that you have a man who is killing his wife, and then he kills his children, okay? And the way that he went about it, strangulation, I mean, that is so personal. The rage, the anger that somebody has to do that when they're struggling and they're looking at you. In this particular case, his children saying, is this going to happen to me? I mean, who does that? And then just like, our guest that we had the other day, like what makes somebody tick that does something like that? I mean, for centuries, people from Jack the Ripper to Ted Bundy, to Chris Watts, whether they're a serial killer or they, just do something that's so out of the realm of any kind of normalcy, people want to know what makes those people tick. Chris Watts, we talked about, here's a guy, for lack of a better term, just kind of going about his business. He's got a job, he's got a wife, kids, family, ups and downs of life, living paycheck to paycheck. And then one day, he meets the girl, and next thing you know, he's killing his wife and kids. That is crazy, okay? Now, next part of that question from Ivy was, does Scott think that Watts acted alone? There is no evidence that there was anybody else there. Now, could somebody have said, gee, I couldn't wait for us to be alone. It'd be a lot easier if we could have this fresh start. Who knows if that actually took place, if that was fed into his head, if that made him do it. But guess what? That is not enough to charge somebody. So do I think Chris Watts acted alone? I do. What evidence do we have of that? His statements. Now, is Chris Watts a liar? Absolutely. But that's the evidence that we have. We think the strongest evidence is the fact that he has pled guilty to all of those things. And I think that just simply is what we have to go on, because I just that's what we have, okay? And if there was somebody else involved, I mean, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Do you really think that the Frederick Police Department or the Weld County District Attorney's Office, if they had credible evidence that somebody else was involved, that they wouldn't have charged somebody in the death of Shanann, her unborn child, and her two children, Bella and Celeste. They would have charged them if the evidence was there. Okay? So, yes, can we sit and hypothesize about things all day long and speculate? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you still have to have evidence to go forward. You still have to have evidence to put in that affidavit for an arrest warrant to say it. And I think, I suspect, I wish those are not words that get legal documents signed. You need hard evidence. Adrian, I work with lawyers all the time. I understand your job. Okay. It's, don't get me wrong. I love being a lawyer. I do. I have met some of the most interesting people over the years. What I love about this job is that you never know what's going to happen, literally on a daily basis. What do I hate about this job? Some days you never know what's going to happen. You can think, I'm going to be in the office all day. I'm going to get some real work done. And next thing you know, you're being called to court, or phone calls, and somebody's been arrested, and what have you. I was actually in court yesterday morning, and I met, kind of passing, another attorney, and this other attorney had been, a police officer, a state district attorney, and a United States attorney, and now I'll just leave it that she works for a county. And we were talking, and she was like, wow, that litigation stuff really was just so exhausting. And she had done it for, 15 years or so. And, that's what things that people don't realize, in whether it's civil litigation or, criminal litigation, is the amount of time that goes into it before you go to court. As a general rule, if you have a trial, and it's going to be even just a one-day trial, you need to figure about 3 days of actual prep time. It doesn't necessarily mean all at once, but you probably had about, for every day in trial, figure about 3 days for prep. So it's exhausting. This turnaround we're talking, and she was saying how it's nice to be able to take her child to school and have a life and not have to be working on weekends and evenings and what have you. And I think that's people that go to attorneys to go to court. When you're in court, yeah, you try to take other work with you, but sometimes you just can't do it. You're, talking to your client, you're talking to the district attorney, you're talking to them about other cases. You're waiting for your case to get called because they put 80 cases on the docket on a Monday morning. And, there's no way you're going to get through 80 cases quickly. You got to call them up. They got to continuous. They got to make a record. It just takes longer than you think you will. And so when you think, oh, this will only take, may take you literally 2 minutes at the podium to get your case called, but it took you 2 hours to get your case called. Where do you get those other 2 hours back? Well, it's called evenings and weekends. And, that's what, it's a hard business. And if you look, a lot of, there's a lot of young public defenders and a few old ones, criminal defense attorneys, as they get older, a lot more than you did when you were younger. I assure you of that. But it's tough. It's exhausting. And, I know lots of people that just literally say, I can't do it anymore just because of the amount of work and pressure that goes into it. Because that's just the way it is. Kyle, you can attest to that. Do we just sit around here all day and drink coffee and, Red Bull? Or we're usually pretty busy. Let's see here. Let's see. AZ. Oh, ask Mama Bear. Yeah, no one wants to understand the law. They want to have it their way, and no way. They have no idea. We are a republic. That's a good point. We are a constitutional republic, ladies and gentlemen. I always hear that, we're a democracy. No, we're not. We're a constitutional republic. Look at the Constitution. That's why we send representatives. If we had a pure democracy, which our founding fathers rejected because they did not want the rule of the majority, because that would be tyranny of the majority. That's why they have a constitutional republic. That's why everybody has representatives, so that the larger states didn't have an absolute say, and just everybody else got ignored. So, let's see here. With my research, let's see. After 30 years of watching, return back to college. Good. I think everybody should go to school, finish their education, whatever they want to do. Never stop learning. A lot of information to help you research. That's great. We like that. Let's see here. Let's see. Question from Tootsie. Would you have represented Casey Anthony? Sure. Why not? Everybody's entitled to a defense, and that's just the bottom line. I don't think I've ever taken or turned down a case because I said, ooh, I don't like what that person did. Ooh, that sounds really bad. No. Frankly, I mean, maybe this is just me, but think about it. Have you ever known somebody that's like, hey, I want to be the best in the game? Think like Tom Brady, okay? Obviously, I live in Denver, but Tom Brady. Whether you like the Patriots or not, they're one of the best football teams ever. Do you think Tom Brady ever says, Coach, don't put me into the tough games? No, he's all about give me the ball. I'll make things happen, okay? And I think that, anybody that wants to be good at their games, give me the worst of the worst. Put the hardest situation so I can go see if I can do something with it. Doesn't always work out, but, we do that. I mean, for years, when we used to take court-appointed matters, judges would call me up with the cases that were horrible. Nobody could get along with the defendant. He had 3 or 4 attorneys. I'd go in and we'd get the case resolved one way or the other, whether through trial or not. Part of this job is you have to be able to speak and relate to all types of people. I've literally, like I said, I've represented people, billionaires and their children, I got to leave that meeting because I got to go meet an interpreter down at the jail for my client who's from Central America with a 2nd grade education. Got to run, okay? But you still have to be able to talk to all those people, and I think that's an important thing about being not only just an attorney, but a trial attorney. You have to be able to talk to all people in all walks of life. I know lots of people, attorneys from big 17th Street law firms here in Denver, crazy smart. But if you took them down to the jail and talked to somebody or even in front of a courtroom, they wouldn't know what to do. That's not what they do. And that's why there's a difference. I've always said, and I think I've mentioned this before, that anybody can be a lawyer, okay? They can send you to law school. You can pass. You can do it, take the bar, what have you. And then, just about everybody can be a corporate attorney. Geez, how do we do this? How do we structure this? Not a big deal. Still complicated work, many things, usually tax-related type of issues. And then you have litigators, all right? Litigators are usually what you hear about in civil cases, okay? Because not that many civil cases go to trial. We do civil work here in my practice. We have some 5 attorneys here, and we do civil work, and they resolve, okay? But so you have, attorneys, litigators, and then you have trial attorneys. Trial attorneys are attorneys that actually go and try cases, okay? When people, they go hire an attorney, they should, how many cases have you tried, okay? Because let's say you can't resolve it. And the guy's like, well, I haven't been to trial. I mean, we get hired by other attorneys who haven't been to trial for years, or they refer us to their client because, like, oh my gosh, I thought this was going to be a guilty plea, and they're not making an offer, or my client says he's not doing it, so we go to trial. There's a difference, okay? There's a different skill set. It's being able to talk to a jury, understand the rules of evidence, coming up with a hypothesis. You really have to be a psychologist and figure out potential jurors because that's the most important part of just about any trial. So let's see. We'll go on to the next questions here. For what would be a good bachelor's degree before law school? Ooh, question. What would be a good bachelor's degree before law school? Anything. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. There's so many areas of the law. I know people that have engineering degrees and they go to law school and they go off and do patent law, or they do any type of law. It doesn't matter. They can teach you the law. Anybody can be taught the law. I don't think it makes any particular difference what your degree is in, whether you go in philosophy or you have a business degree. Never let that hinder anybody from trying to go to law school. It just doesn't matter. Marion, we say that in nursing too. Communication is the heart of the job. Yeah, you have to be able to listen. I mean, as an attorney, people come to you for all the answers all the time, and sometimes you have to say, "I don't know," or "This is my opinion based upon the facts that I know," and obviously that is subject to change based upon new facts coming to light. That's what always, people will call and say, "Well, what kind of chance do you think I have if I go to trial?" And I have to say, I don't know. I mean, at best 50-50, maybe 30-70, because you just never know. Facts can change. And we can never guarantee a particular result. When a client comes and hires us, our fee agreement says, we can't make any specific promises as the duration or the outcome of the case, because I can't. I've had cases where they come into the office and you think, wow, this is going to be a great case, and then you get the police reports and it's not what the client told you at all. And you have other cases where the client's like, man, I just want to plead guilty. I just need somebody to help hold my hand through this process. And you have a great case. It just never depends. But the biggest thing is, you have to try and communicate with your client to make sure they understand. Some attorneys, and I'm always harping on my attorneys in my office, send a letter. Did we send a copy of that motion to the client? They have to be informed. We have to let them know, what's going on. And that's what we try to do. Let's see here. Take another question. I'm sorry. Court justice, I know, is pretty good places. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Court Justice on Netflix. I haven't seen that one yet, but maybe I'll take a look at that. Love to know more about the American system. Well, it's I said something the other day. Man, I got some flack from particular people where I said that the American judicial system is absolutely terrible, but it's better than anywhere else in the world. And some people, oh, it's a terrible system. Is it perfect? No, the American judicial system is anything but perfect. But I do believe that it is better than anywhere else in the world. We have jury trials, okay? Most of the world does not have jury trials. And the reason why we have jury trials is that when they were drafting the Constitution, they said, we're going to put this in the hands of the people to decide. When you have a trial, there are two sets of judges in the courtroom. You have the judge that rules on the law, and then you have the jury they're the judges of fact. Did something happen? And they're just as important. And that's why when the jurors come in and leave the courtroom, everybody stands for them, because they get just as much respect as the judge sitting up there who supposedly knows the law. Oftentimes the jurors know the law, could do a better job than some of the judges out there. And so that's a radical notion to have, everyday people decide the fate. Whereas before, the king said, oh, I'll give you a trial. You want a trial? I'll appoint my judge, and I won't give you an attorney. And you won't call witnesses, and you can't subpoena witnesses. And I'm going to force you to testify. I mean, all of those things that are in our Constitution were radical ideas, okay? And the people decide. And think about it. For a jury decision to be unanimous, think about if you had a meeting with 12 people and you had to decide where you were even going to go to lunch, okay? There's always somebody that's going to disagree. So to be able to get 12 people who've never met to come to some type of an agreement, let alone on a matter of great importance as to somebody's guilt or innocence, that was a radical idea. But the founding fathers trusted the people. Okay, so sorry, sometimes I get a little fired up about that stuff. Pretty, you know what? I don't have time. Let me take a look at this. Okay, Dwight, not true. Most European systems have a jury. Okay, but they didn't always, and pretty sure we're the ones that really started that. Now, did England have juries? Yes. I mean, that's really where, and most people don't know this. So, like, where? And I had to do research on this years ago. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, not in the Constitution anywhere. It is not in most state constitutions anywhere. I mean, they say proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but like, what does that mean? Okay, but proof beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't exist in the Constitution, but that's the legal standard for that. So, you know, the history that I have read on that was that you had to have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, okay? And that was obviously for the jurors. And the reason why that was such a high legal standard was because it was thought that if the jurors had made a wrong decision, basically that they would spend a life in hell because they had convicted an innocent person. So that's why they basically came up with this legal standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, because these people wanted to be able to sleep at night and know that they were not going to go into hell if they convicted an innocent person. And so that, I think that's a little interesting fact, because you won't find that in the Constitution. Nowhere ever defines the history of it. I had to do some research on that. So let me take a look at these. How can lawyers be friends outside of court or even with prosecutors and go against each other? How do you guys do that? You know, I don't have a problem with that at all. When I was in the Marine Corps, a friend of mine that we had gone through the basic school, Naval Justice School, we got to the same duty station, and we switched, flip-flopped at one point, but we were one time a prosecutor, one time a defense attorney. And, you go do your job. Whether it's your friend or not, you're not going to go easy on anybody in any particular way at all. And I remember battling it out, and, we wouldn't even be talking to each other in court. And then, an hour or so would go by, and you get a phone call. Hey, Scott. Yeah, what's up? Hey, we're going to go for a run today at lunch? Yeah. You coming over this weekend? Yeah, we'll be there. You do your job. You don't always like it. You don't always you don't always agree with everything that takes place. But, this is the thing I've always heard. People complain about, oh, my public defender, they work for the system, or, they were talking to the district attorney. Okay. My experience is, and I can get along with most district attorneys. I probably have about 3 that I just cannot talk to. And I usually have to bring an associate or somebody and say, you do the talking to them, because it'll get ugly if when we talk. But normally, the fact that you have some sort of a collegial relationship, a professional relationship, is that they'll listen to you, okay? If you go into a courtroom as a defense attorney or as a prosecutor and you're going to poke fingers in everybody's eyes, guess what? Pretty soon no one's going to talk with you. And when you have that case where you need somebody to really listen to you, they're not going to listen. They're going to ignore you. So it kind of goes back to that notion of it never hurts to be nice, okay? Because more than likely, those district attorneys are going to be there longer than this one particular case that you have. You are probably going to deal with them professionally. Does that mean you can't go in there and just whoop their butt in trial? No. Are they going to like it? No. But guess what? Sometimes they're going to whoop your butt in trial, and you're not going to like it. But at the end of the day, you're going to say, nice trial, shake their hand, and you go back, and there's going to be another case. But if they respect you and you have a relationship with them, they're going to listen to you. And maybe if it's that close call of getting a good deal for your client, and you have that relationship with them, says, you know what? Hey, Scott's always been a straight shooter with me. He doesn't come to me here on every case and say, this is the case I need a big favor or something on. Then that is the kind of thing that benefits when you have people that are collegial in with each other. I think that people should be more professional when they're in court. You see it now, particularly with a lot of younger attorneys, the young DAs, young public defenders. They just, both sides just drank the Kool-Aid, and it's just everything is a scorched earth. Wow, we got a scorched earth. No, not every case is a scorched earth case where you have to do it. Yes, you're going to zealously represent your client, but you don't have to, like I said, go poke fingers in everybody's eyes. That just pisses people off. There's time to do that, and there's time to be nice. And most of the time, it doesn't hurt to be nice. You usually get, think about it. When you have to go to ask somebody and say, hey, I'm advocating for my client, and if you've been an ass to this person, this district attorney in the past, do you think they're really going to listen to you? No. They're going to want to tell you to go away. But if you've been nice and you can say, hey, how's it going? How's your kids? Hey, I saw on Facebook you guys did whatever this weekend. Boy, that looked like a good time. All right, now let's get down to business. It's just what you do in professional life. I mean, you have competitors and you're professional. That's what you do. Okay. Yes, UK did have before. Yes, they did, but we perfected it because, well, frankly, US did a lot better in my opinion. That's just me. And we don't have to wear those wigs, but I don't get the wig thing. Question: who's going to watch the Oxygen special on Chris Watts tonight? I don't know. Probably tape it. At least it's today's world. We can watch it all, right? Shanann told her truth on Facebook. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's go back to you're right. The victim shaming should stay out of there. Okay, yeah. Z. Yeah, the victim shaming should stay out of here. Let's talk about that. I don't get it. Like I said, what we've tried to do on this channel is try to provide some insight as to what kind of really goes on in the legal system, in the criminal defense world. Okay? And there's some channels out there, and I don't watch that many other channels because most of it, it's just, there's a lot of speculation. And I like to deal with facts because, in my job, I say, okay, that's great, but how do I prove it? What evidence do I have to actually prove it? That's legally incompetent evidence that I can put into a courtroom that's going to be admissible under the rules of evidence. How do we do that? And we've tried to, whether somebody's an accused, obviously they have rights. If somebody is a victim, I think we've always tried to treat everybody with respect. We don't go out and say, oh, so-and-so is this and that, and they, just a terrible person, okay? I've seen people that most people wouldn't approve of their lifestyles at all. They can still be victims, okay? And they should be treated with respect. When we go to court, and, sometimes I say, oh, and this gentleman, and I get, there's all these comments that say, oh, Scott, how can you refer to them as gentlemen? I'm going to unsubscribe for you because you do that. That's habit. It's called being professional, okay? If I went into a courtroom and said, referred to as a victim as something other than their last name, Mr. or Miss, or anything along those lines, I would be held in contempt, okay? You don't get to go out there and just badmouth people. You can treat all people with dignity and respect. And that's what judges are supposed to do. Yes, this is kind of the court of public opinion, but you can still treat people with respect, okay? Think about it. That's what judges are supposed to do as well. And they ask, there's surveys that are done that go out to attorneys and say, what about this particular judge? And they ask you, do they treat everybody fairly? Do they, how do they handle their courtroom? Are they efficient? Are they inefficient? Are they, knowledgeable, prepared, etc.? But the biggest thing is, how do they treat everybody? And I know people that have asked me for over the years, would you write a recommendation for me? I'm applying to be a judge. One of the biggest things that I consider is, how does this person treat people? Okay, there's been some district attorneys where they've asked, or I've been called and said, they're up for a nomination. Would you tell me about them? And I tell them, I think they'd be a terrible judge. They're one of those people that never listened throughout. I had a case once where my client was innocent, and I mean innocent, and tried to convince the district attorney that, why are we going forward with this? We go to trial. We cross-examine the complaining witness in the case, and I come back from lunch and I have a motion to dismiss. Okay? That person then wanted to become a judge. And I tell them the story. Like, no, they wouldn't listen. It wasn't until they actually saw it. Now, what changed? They had a video of the complaining witness, but yet, cross-examination, these are the same things that I told them about beforehand, and they ignored it. Okay? They look silly. But they were also the type of person they're just mean to people. What does it hurt to be nice? Okay? Yeah, there's a time to be a complete jerk. I get that. I can go there. But, it's always better to start off with the nice factor first. And judges, like we all should, treat everyone with dignity and respect. And judges are supposed to do that, all right? Just because even if you think of a victim as a horrible human being, sometimes you can keep that to yourself. Sometimes you can just say, you know what, I just don't condone somebody's particular lifestyle. I think I would have done something different. But, and maybe as I get older, when I was a 21-year-old, 18, 25, everything was black and white. It just was really simple. But as you get older, you start to realize that everybody has a story. Everybody has had something in their life that has affected who they are, what they do. And some people have had an easier road than others. And for us to sit there and throw stones at people, I don't know. I've just found that oftentimes people that throw stones usually are sometimes the biggest hypocrites of all. And I've represented those people. Okay, the ones that say, "Oh, people, if you do this, you're bad," and guess what? They're doing the exact same thing. So, anyway, Kelly, you're taking up space for your own arguments. What is it?
Everyone's talking about Cindy Watts.
Oh.
Chris Watts stuff.
I could get a grand PSL at $6. I don't understand what that means. Adrian, Cindy should just go visit her mom, her son, and shut up about Shanann.
Just ask everyone what they thought of the interview with the author.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so let's talk. I'm saying. Okay, here. So Adrian, I see it. I see that was a super chat. I'm saying that Cindy has a right to speak. And that's what it comes down to. Yes, everybody has a right to speak. This is America. And when we start censoring, saying a particular person does not have a right to speak, I mean, think about that. We don't like their opinion. We don't like what they did. Yes. Now, if they spew lies and they spew, false information, then so be it. But that may be what they perceived as to how things were. Okay. Even if referring to Cindy Watts, she has a right to say what she says, and who knows? Maybe she'll say something that will make everybody click as to why Chris Watts did what he did. Who knows? But to simply say, shut up, you shouldn't be heard at all. Censorship is the worst thing that we could possibly do. Okay, a lot of people may not know this, but there's people out there that don't want anything related to the true crime genre to even be on YouTube. Okay, most people don't know this, and this was never started for making a ton of money. I can make more in one day than what I make an entire month on YouTube. But the reality of it is YouTube demonetizes all of our videos at first, and maybe after a day or two, they'll say, okay, fine, you can have videos on it because it's just fine. But that's because people out there saying you shouldn't discuss a homicide. You shouldn't discuss this case. It's not appropriate for people, okay? There are people out there that actually don't think that we should be able to talk about any of these type of cases with facts because it is simply too emotional, too insensitive to people. So once you start saying some person shouldn't have a right to speak or some person shouldn't be able to tell their side of the story, you are censoring them, okay? And in a free society, we want people to speak, all right? And the problem with censorship and political correctness out there is, soon the bell tolls for thee. They will come for you. The politically correct police will come for you, all right? Because if you say, well, we shouldn't talk about this particular subject or this particular case because, it's a really bad case and the victim needs respect. Well, we can treat everybody with respect. But if somebody, there's always going to be that person on the extreme that's going to say, well, I'm more politically correct and I'm more sensitive than everybody else. And those people should be censored because they're not saying the right things. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. That is the problem with censorship. Listen, there are lots of terrible ideas out there in the world. There are lots of mean and hateful things in the world, okay? But it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be heard so that people can say, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, and you have no facts to back it up. And if they're false, then they should go be sued, okay? A free society exists only because occasionally people are going to have their feelings hurt. You don't have a right not to be offended. You don't have a right not to have your feelings hurt. And one of the things that I love about being a criminal defense attorney is oftentimes the government will say, well, this person's so bad. Well, guess what? My job is I'm the guy that gets to talk about the elephant in the room. I'm the guy that's going to ask the questions to test their theory out. What are their assumptions that they are making in their particular case? And if I was censored from doing that, I wouldn't be allowed to do my job. It'd be absolutely atrocious. And that's what people, want to do when they say that they want to censor people or that somebody shouldn't have anything to say or you can't say anything that somebody perceives as mean towards somebody. It just absolutely drives me nuts, okay? Let's see here. Yeah, there's that quote, first they came for me. First they came, for the communists, and I wasn't a communist. Then they came for, the Catholics, and I don't know the exact words, but then they came for me. But by the time they came for me, there was, nobody left. And that's the truth, and you can see it on YouTube even here today where, whether it's Facebook, any type of social media, they shut people down because they just don't like their views. It's just crazy for me, particularly when you see YouTube and you see, the people that founded YouTube. I can't remember which one it is, the Brin or the other guy, but they came from, communist Russia. And, one of the things they didn't want to live in that country. And yet somehow they're condoning these ideas. And yes, it's a private company. They can try to do what they want and have community standards. But guess what? You can never please everybody, no matter what you do. I guarantee it, ladies and gentlemen, I could put up a video, and I could think it was the most perfect thing, addressing both sides. Somebody will find some flaw with it. You are never going to please everybody, and, that's just the way it is. The band Alex Jones, now he's 3 times bigger. Yeah, I mean, anytime you it's supply and demand. People are like, well, gee, what is this guy saying? So I better go check him out. And then they say, oh, here it is. It's just crazy. Scott, you want some money? No, I do just fine. I don't want anybody to give me anything. We're hopefully going to earn it. Yeah, and if you want to, I don't want anybody to give me money, but hopefully it will give you something of value. You can go buy our Crime Talk merch, at the link. You can do that. Yes, I saw that Adrian Rivera. Thank you for your super chats. Once again, didn't ask for it, but thank you. We do appreciate that. It's perfect. We appreciate that. Adrian Rivera, do you think Frazee will serve 25 years of a life? He will serve in Colorado. Life without parole means life without parole. He will never ever get out. He will die in prison. The only way he would ever get out of prison is if he got a new trial and he was found not guilty, which is very unlikely, or the governor pardoned him. And that's not going to happen. He will die. Patrick Frazee will die in prison. In Colorado, life without parole means life without parole. Some states, it's life means 20 to 60 years. Not in Colorado. You go to life, you're there forever. Listen to me, Scott. Let's write a Chris Watts book. I don't know what I would have to say about it that I haven't already said. Maybe other than if the case had gone to trial, but it hadn't. So I don't know what else. I still think the psychological angle is the most. Was Cato's book the best? No. But what did I say about it at the time? She was one of the few people who had actually had conversations with Chris Watts. And once again, even if it was a rehash, but she had letters from him. She had conversations with him. If there was going to be even the smallest little tidbit that came from that, I would talk to anybody that had talked with Chris Watts. I would love to go talk with this guy. Okay. That's the way it is. Our guest last week, or this week, Alina Derhali, she's a therapist. She looked at it from a psychological perspective. And I think her book, I thought it was well written. I really do. The second half of the book really gets into the deep psychological elements of what it takes to have a particular diagnosis or not. And she looked at it as that. And she says, I don't know. And what I like about her was she was candid. She says, I don't have all the answers. I'm making this theory, this proposition based upon what I've seen, what I've read. And, whether you all disagree with me, that's fine. But this is what I have to say about it. It's legitimate. People can go buy the book. They don't have to go buy the book. I don't get any money from it. I thought she was a very good interview. I think most people thought that she was a good interview. And, people can do with it what they want. Our purpose here is to get the information out there and let you all decide. I'm not here to tell you how you must think. You have to follow what Scott believes or don't follow my channel. Absolutely not. Like I said, we can agree to disagree on just about everything, but we can be polite and respectful. I have friends that we disagree on lots of things, but we're still good friends, and we get along great. So it's just the way it's just the way it is. I think people should get the information. No one should have any information censored, and if you don't like it, say, hey, this is the worst book I've ever read in my life, whether it's Cato's or Miss Derhali's, and fine. But if they provide even just a little bit more of information perspective, isn't it worth talking about? Why should we say, oh, someone shouldn't write a book about this? If they're going to make money publishing it, why shouldn't they? They're the ones that took the time. They're the ones that got it published. Somebody thought it was worthy. They had to pay the cost, the time that they put into it. They should be compensated for that. It's called America. It's called free market capitalism. It's it's America. It's America. There's an Adrian in the chat that may be supported, but I am not. Yeah, I thought she was very good in the interview. I agree. Is it Enid? I can't pronounce that last name. Yretciva. Sorry about that. I don't know how to do super chat on phones. No, I'm sorry. What do you think about the Epstein death case? Will it be investigated? Wow. You know, the Epstein case is crazy. All right. Okay, now here will totally be demonetized, right, Kyle? If you say the word Epstein on a video, you automatically will be demonetized, and you will be found not to be suitable for advertisers because it's too controversial, is what YouTube will tell you. It's crazy what YouTube will tell you. Usually it's some machine that automatically does it, and Epstein is one of those words, so we might as well say it. Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Epstein, the death, all right? First of all, the fact that this guy got the deal that he did down in Florida, he's originally charged in a federal case, and he gets, a sweetheart deal, does a little bit of jail on work release. He's still hobnobbing with all of the super rich and powerful, has his picture taken everywhere. I would love to see the evidence log from the raid on the home in the island off the coast of Florida, down there in the Bahamas, I guess it is, the New York house, as well as what was in New Mexico. Apparently, the whole house was covered inch to inch with video cameras, and apparently everything was recorded. And, there's been theories that he perhaps blackmailed a lot of people, or maybe he was just a really good financial advisor with a real weird, kinky side to him. Who knows, right? But the reality of it is there were a lot of people that he hung out with. And, people can say, hey, he pled guilty, he did his time, but the reality is he looked like he was still engaging in the conduct that got him in trouble in the first place. And, for all these people that are so super smart, you would think they would try to distance themselves from him because of what was being seen, the appearance of impropriety. And, it's just, it's just bizarre. So the fact that it's, for lack of a better term, a perfect storm, where he's in this the Manhattan Federal Correctional Facility. He's been on a suicide watch. He's been taken off a suicide watch. 2 of the 3 cameras apparently just happened to go down. The Bureau of Prisons correctional officers just happened to be trying to kill himself. They've been trying to, while Epstein's trying to kill himself, they're internet shopping or falling asleep. The perfect storm, so to speak. And then you have somebody like Dr. Bodden, who is a renowned forensic pathologist, handled, thousands of cases, lots of high-profile cases, looks at it, and he basically says, I'm probably 80, I think he said is 85 to 90% sure this guy did not commit suicide. It makes you wonder, okay? Is it possible that the guy committed suicide, he just happened to do everything right? Yeah, it's possible. Does it look suspicious? Yes. Will people be constantly and forever saying that there was a conspiracy to kill him? Well, sure. Because once again, why? They're not releasing all of the information, right? The government works for us. They should release all this stuff, all right? And, my God, the feds, why does it always take years for an investigation to take place? Could you imagine? I'm surprised there's anything ever gets done in D.C. The bureaucracy of it there in the federal government. Like what do these people do all day? I mean, there's only a couple of witnesses. There's video. How long does it take to do these investigations? Then release the information to the public so that we can decide, not be told what we're supposed to see. Oh, Prince Andrew. Hey, Prince Andrew, man, I saw that interview. Oh my God. Whoever told him to go and do that interview, hopefully he's fired. I think they actually resigned. I mean, what did they say? He looked like, a prostitute in church, kind of thing. I mean, he was sweating like oh my gosh, he bad, bad, bad. Um, and he's basically been fired from his royal duties. He's, yeah, everybody knows that this guy's not telling the truth at all. It's just weird. So leave it at that. April wants to know, who is the gentleman in the photo behind you? A lot of people have asked that. Right? This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the greatest Marines ever. Okay? Photo of Lieutenant General Chester Puller, a.k.a. Chesty. All right? And I used to have this hanging up in my office in the Marine Corps, and I had it. And then the lovely Miss Kristen got this framed for me because, I don't know, Chesty Puller, man, has 5 Navy crosses, okay? Five Navy crosses. That's one level below the Medal of Honor. So if you're doing Navy Cross kind of stuff, you're a stud. You're a hero. He was in World War II, Guadalcanal. He was a stud. Just hard charger. When he was surrounded at the frozen chosen in the Korean War, his response was, good. Now we've got him right where we want him. He just didn't. He never gave up. Hard charging Marine. That's who that photo is for people that want to know. Other people ask about the baseball bat. Somebody gave that to me as a gift. It just simply has the Reich law firm posted on that. The horse. Oh, I love this. So this was a gift, and I've had this, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, a little over 2 years, I guess. But this was a gift, once again, from the lovely Miss Kristen. It's an artist here in Colorado. Oh, I can't think. What is his name? Oh, my gosh. But he does these. It's kind of a sculpture. It's like a bronze. I apologize. I'll get his name because his work is really amazing. He does the kind of stuff where it shows all the people climbing up the walls, like the little men kind of thing. Anyway, I got this gift. All right, and obviously, little Trojan horse. Where they sneak into the city of Troy and they got all the people in the horse. Well, I think that this, really kind of represents, as an attorney, what you have to do, particularly as a defense attorney sometimes, all right? It looks like a horse, but you got all these little legs working underneath. You got all these people, that there's a lot of people working, that you don't necessarily see, and you have to be smart about it. And not deceptive, but you have to be smart about it because they see you coming. They just don't know what's there. And so I just, I love this. It's just, I don't know, it's just a great piece of art, and I really enjoy it. It was a gift. I love gifts. I love, when people, thoughtful gifts, and this is one of the most thoughtful gifts that I've ever received, I think. So, all right. Let's see here. Anyone? No one's ever signed that baseball bat. Although I went to a charity auction last night, and I got a bat, and I can't even know who it was, but it was good. Oh, okay, great. Bill Stark, yes. He's in Colorado here. He has done some very, very good stuff, amazing stuff. And the fact that I got this thing, I think it was, he doesn't, it's kind of a custom made piece, but your callousness is hanging out. Okay, Z. Pardon me. I'm not sure if this is directed to me or somebody else. Before we begin, I'd just like to point out your entitlement is showing. Oh, and your callousness is hanging out. Is that for me? I can't tell. Let me know, Z, if that's for me. I mean, I'll talk about my entitlement. I have none. Okay, it's. I have no entitlement whatsoever. Most people, listen. I did not grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had nothing. Anything that I've ever got, I've had to get on my own. When I was 18, actually I was 17, graduated from high school. My parents were like, "Good luck. Here's an alarm clock and a suitcase. Good luck." And so I never, didn't grow up privileged and entitled. So I don't know if that was meant for me, but if you're going to say something about that, once again, call somebody entitled, you better have your facts ready to go. When are we going to see you on a TV in a live trial? I don't know. I just don't have any, good. I would love for that, but I'm ready. I just need the right case, I guess. Okay. Somebody thinks that wasn't for me, but anyway, there we go. All right. How long have we been going, Kyle? 10:14.
We've been going for an hour and 6 minutes.
Been an hour, so. All right. Well, I appreciate.
We hit the 69,000 subscribers.
Ooh, Kyle just told me we passed 69,000 subscribers today. Wow. Look at that. Now, if we can almost get to that 100,000, 100 would be really cool. I don't know why, but that, just hitting that kind of six-figure thing would be cool. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. In fact, I read a comment the other day that said, no channel should ever ask anybody to subscribe. Really? That's what it goes, I'm telling you. No matter what you do on YouTube or anywhere else in the world, okay? That's why people need to go do it, whatever they want to do. There were questions earlier about going to law school. What should they do? Go to law school, okay? I've encouraged more people to go to law school. I had a buddy, we were on the drill field. I said, dude, go to law school. He went to law school. He loves it. Just hired a new attorney in my office. She worked for us. She was our receptionist when she went to school. My legal secretary, I'm encouraging her to go to law school. She's taken the LSATs. She knows more about, the law and the maneuvers, how things work than most practicing attorneys. So you people, if you've ever, had that desire or notion to go to law school, go to law school. I encourage it, okay? Yeah, we have lots of attorneys in this world, but guess what? We have more rights in this world, and those rights need to be protected. So attorneys are, it's a great knowledge, whether you never practice law, whether you use it. I've had people that said, well, should I go to business school or should I go to law school? I would, do what you want, but I've had lots of friends that go off and be very successful in business because you have that kind of basic knowledge of so many things. So just go do what you want. Don't listen to what other people will say. It's the do what makes you happy. All right. Okay, share. And this, we're not criticizing any, but I noticed that too. In the Crystal Lee Kenny videos, it looks as though, I don't know if she has a nervous tick or what is going on, if that's, an illness or whatever, but I noticed that too. I think it's quite obvious, but I haven't heard any information about that, so I don't want to necessarily say for certain, but it struck me as unusual. Perhaps it was just nervousness or whatever. I'm too old to go to law school, and I'm a single mom. Oh, no, Miss Adrienne Gonzalez, you were never too old to go to law school. You were never too old to never stop learning, okay? And if you're going to law school, we had people in my law school class that it was their second, third career. We had people in their 50s and 60s that were going to law school. If you want to go, okay? Single mom, you know what? You'll figure it out. A single mom is the hardest working person in the world, okay? When my kids were younger, my wife stayed home, and it was a full-time job in and of itself. So to be a single mom and to do everything, get the kids up, get them out to school, work, clothes, take him to, soccer, karate, all those kinds of good things. To do that as a single mom, guess what? That'd be the first person I would say could go to law school and complete it. Okay. Single mothers do, 48 hours worth of work in about 24 hours. They are efficient. They get things done, and they can do it in law school as well. So, Adrian, go to law school. If that's what you want to do, go do it. Same thing, everybody else. If it's important to you, you'll find a way to get it done. Go do it. Alicia, go to law school. Let's see here. Let's try to finish up here. Sorry.
There was a super chat earlier. It said, can a tribal judge be ever held accountable in a federal or state court?
Okay. Well, that's the little. Can a tribal judge be held accountable in federal or state court? Well, as maybe most people know or don't know, if there's a tribal judge, that means they'd be on an Indian reservation because they are considered basically their own nations. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on tribal law, Indian law at all, but I know that they have their own judicial systems. People can still be charged with crimes on federal reservations in federal court. If a judge does something wrong, there's always a remedy for that. But without knowing the facts, I could not speculate at all. Well deserved, no drama and outlandish theories based on videos. Super rare these days, and you deserve mad respect for it. Thank you, Amanda. We appreciate that. We try to keep it real. We try to keep it straightforward. We try to keep it fact-driven. We want to be the place where people come to say, what are the facts? Yes, in court, prosecution, defense, what do? Here's the evidence or the lack thereof, and you can argue reasonable inferences drawn from the evidence, okay? You can have the most outlandish theory of all, but if you got to be able to stand up in front of the jury and try to convince them, okay? And let me tell you, I have. Let me give a shout out here to Trish and Deborah Ferris, who started college at 30. Congratulations! Like I said, never stop learning. Never, ever, ever. I told that to my kids. Never, ever stop learning. You just never know where it's going to go. The world is constantly changing. If you're learning about the new stuff. But going back to that little question about, you have to be able to convince a jury. Reasonable. It's going to be facts. Is this reasonable? Is it plausible? Okay. There's a thing that I joke about. When you go to trial, particularly if you have a terrible case, I mean, just like, oh my God, other than the videotape, the confession, the unbiased witnesses. Other than that, they've got nothing. And you think, I've got this, because either we're going to trial or it's so bad they're going to file habitual charges, so you got to go do something. There's a thing that I joke about. It's called the penthouse suite of the psychosis hotel, okay? You got to get in sometimes in that psychosis where you're thinking, I can win this thing. Oh, I got this. Like I said, other than the confession, the eyewitnesses, the video, they've got nothing. Because sometimes you have to think, I got to sell this to a jury, and if they think that am not selling it and I'm not believing it, then they won't either. And then you lose, and then you figure out, and you're like, man, I was truly in that psychosis where I thought I had a shot, and then you think, man, you never had a shot, Scott. And everybody knew it, because obviously you come back and they find your client guilty. So I try to avoid that, okay? My practice on YouTube here, you got to think, all right, is this gonna work? Is it plausible? Jurors are smart people, okay? I know jurors sometimes get a bad rap, but I will never berate a jury for making a decision, because they made the best decision they could on the information that they had and the legal evidence that came in. And, usually if there's a bad decision that people think is a bad decision, usually it's the prosecutor to blame. Okay. So anyway, let's go here. New shirt idea, Scott. Never too old to go to law school. I like that, And in today's world, they have evening courses. Law schools, there's a lot of them that are going broke these days because people aren't going anymore because the economy's going well, et cetera. But, it's just, it. I say go. Well, I don't care what it is, whether you want to be electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, doctor, nurse, lawyer, whatever. Auto mechanic, go. Never stop learning. Right. Blooming sense. I would love to be. Let's see. Concerns about anything true and true crime. Everyone always brings up this AD, armchair detective. I've probably watched about 2 minutes of his entire stuff. I just don't. The more outlandish stuff, I get it. Let's talk about UFOs, whatever. It's just not my thing. I'm not bad mouthing him. Hey, if that's what he does, good for him. But I'm not going to get into who's right or who's wrong. If his theories were correct, certain people would be charged. I don't think there's anything that's going to be based upon that. What's that based upon? My years of experience as an attorney that does this type of work. So we'll see. Why do you think Crystal Lee Kenny agreed to come down to clean up Frazie's mess? Being a nurse, she was probably somewhat respectable now. Yeah, that was the part that made no sense to me. Crystal Lee Kenny's story in that particular case, because she said she was scared. Really? You're scared, but you're apparently inferring that Miss Barrett is no longer with us, that she's deceased, and you got to come and clean this up, and you're afraid for your life. Why didn't you call the police and say, I think something bad's happened at this particular location? No, she didn't. Why? Because she already said she was going to do terrible things to Miss Kelsey Barrett on at least 3 occasions, and she chickened out. That's what makes no sense about that. Okay? I don't know what the judge will do. She has a very good attorney. I've known her attorney for probably 20 years, just on a professional basis. But she's a very good attorney, very good attorney. Her law partner is a very excellent attorney. And she's going to do everything she can for her client. And, as an attorney, I say, man, if I see her attorney again in court or wherever, I'll tell her, you did a great job for your client. May not be what everybody thought should have happened, but she did a great job for her client. I mean, let's face it. She apparently plotted to kill somebody at least on 3 occasions. And she cleaned up, helped dispose of a body and evidence and phones and things of that nature. And she's looking at a Class 6 felony here in Colorado, which is 12 to 18 months in prison and 36 months if aggravated. I would tell her she did a great job for her. She did a great job for her client. And that's the only person the defense attorney owes a duty of loyalty to. Not to society, not to anybody. You can't lie to the courts, but you owe only one duty in loyalty, and that is to your client. Jury duty isn't bad. Let's see here. We're just about done. I want it so bad to be in a jury. Well, just make sure they have your Kathy. Just make sure that they, however they select your juries, usually it's a voter registration card, your license. That's updated, and maybe you'll get called. Let's see here. I'm an RN. Barris, unbelievable. She did what she did. Yeah, particularly with Kessinger. When more information came out after Christmas. Let's see. Okay, Ann Wyatt. Hey, Scott. Why did they allow plea deals, particularly with Kessinger, when more info came out after Quishquat's sentence? There is no plea deal with Kessinger, so I'm not sure at least I'm not aware of anything. She sure did have a good attorney, just saying. Yeah, she did a great attorney. Okay, Frederick DeGreat, the ethics are too complicated. Yeah, and I believe that Cassaleel, yeah, I believe that Miss Kenny was losing her nursing license or soon would. The ethics. Let's quickly talk about the ethics, and then we'll go, because I know people have things to do. I know Kyle has places to go and things to do today as well, and I have work to do as well. But let's talk about the ethics. I was explaining this the other day to clients, okay? You have morality, and then you have legality, all right? Morally, your mom and dad have always told you to, if you do something wrong, go and tell everyone what you did. And yes, you may be punished, but you're going to be a better person for it in the long run. Okay. Classic example is, your kid gets in trouble at school. They call the parents down. The parents sitting over there saying, you better tell the principal what you did. You better tell him the truth. And the kid confesses all over himself. And then the kid gets charged criminally. Okay. Morally, I guess he did the right thing. Legally, he's absolutely screwed himself. Okay. Another example. You're driving and you get a DUI. You get pulled over for DUI. Cop asks you been drinking, and you say, just a couple, because I always say a couple, right? And I tell clients, I don't care if you have a cold beer in your hand. If the cop asks you if you've been drinking and driving, you either say no or you don't say a word, okay? My best advice is keep your mouth shut because we don't want you to lie, okay? And so the guy that says, yeah, I had a couple of drinks, guess what? He gets pulled out. He gets a DUI. The other guy gets pulled over and says, you been drinking? Nope. Would you like to do some roadside sobriety tests? Nope. Okay, well, good cop's going to say at that point, unless he's got something else, the guy has drive away. He goes on his way. So you got the legality, morality. And in our judicial system, every defendant has a right to doesn't have to admit or incriminate himself under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. We would like people to do that. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just beat everybody up and beat them into confessions? Well, we don't do that. All right. If it's a coerced confession, it doesn't come in to evidence. And so, the ethics of lots of things, they exist. They're out there. But it's not too complicated. Those are the rules that people have learned to play by. And, like I said, when you tell your kids, respect authority, always, be polite and truthful to police officers. And I would still say be polite and truthful to police officers. But remember, if they're investigating you, they're not your friend, okay? Police officers say, well, if you help me out, I'll help you out. Guess what? He has no authority whatsoever to make that deal. It's only up to the district attorney. So, morally, ethically, yes, we want everybody to be good people. I want everybody to be good people. I want to be a good person. So Frederick the Great, the ethics are too complicated. Yes, it is complicated, but that's the rules that we live in. And you have to play within the rules. Because he has no ethics and everything is just BS, rumors, and gossip. I don't know who they're talking about there. Take care, everyone. Thanks for the great content. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to our live session of Crime Talk. I hope I was able to answer some questions that people were able to put up today. I appreciate it. The people that did the super chats, I appreciate that. Wasn't necessary, but thank you. We do appreciate that. And, we'll put out content this week and hopefully try to do another live session for questions. And I think maybe next week, if we try to do it, maybe we can do the phone where people actually call in and ask questions, and we can have a conversation with some of the subscribers and viewers out there. I think that would be fun as well. So maybe we'll try to give that a call. So have a great day. What's that? Oh yeah, don't forget to go to Teespring and check out our new merchandise out there. I think you'll like it. We'll hopefully have some here next week. Maybe we'll give some of it away. And also go to scottreich.com and sign up for our free newsletter because, hey, it's free. We're practically giving stuff away to anybody that signs up for free. So, yeah. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody paid for it, but, go sign up for free. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for watching Crime Talk.